The Dance of Dragons is not only a war based on personal feuds, but also based on the law that supports both sides. While Fire and Blood tells a more objective story in terms of history, House of the Dragon deepens the relationships between characters and gives them other motives besides a war for the throne. Although the family dinner in episode 8 seemed to put an end to the war before it started, it all proved to be nothing but a dream of spring. The most intriguing part of Martin's fiction is that his characters think they're always doing the right thing and fighting for the right cause, and Dance of the Dragons is not an exception. Family feud aside, the Greens' strongest basis for Aegon to be king is the precedent law of the firstborn son. Thus, their claim stands on tradition, but especially on Jaehaerys' Council of 101. Despite Princess Rhaenys' claim, the Lords of the Realm chose her cousin Viserys over her son Laenor. This was likely one of the most important reasons to include the Council of 101 as a prologue. With the Council of 101, Jaehaerys' intentions were to discuss, debate, and ultimately decide the matter of succession. All noble houses, small or great, were invited to take part in the choosing of their new liege. Masters of Old Town attended as well as septors and septons. By letting all these people speak their minds, they set a precedent that could not be undone. Many houses, except for some exceptions, had always favored the firstborn son or the closest male heir in line. Through a somewhat democratic process, the Greens could very well say this is the will of the people and have the council as proof. In the eyes of many, the Great Council of 101 AC thereby established an iron precedent on matters of seniority. The Iron Throne of Westeros could not pass to a woman, nor through a woman to her male descendants. When Aegon II was born, Viserys didn't do a thing to change the succession order. The Princess of Dragonstone remained his acknowledged heir, with half of the Lords of Westeros sworn to defend her rights. Even when people asked about the precedent of the Great Council, their words fell on deaf ears. In episode 3, Viserys turned against a Lannister and yelled at him for even questioning Rhaenyra's claim. Thereafter, even Otto Hightower was depicted to become more tactful when questioning the succession. Instead, Otto made his goal to undermine the princess in every way he could, either in the small council meetings or by spying on her. On the other hand, the king's word is law. Much like King Jaehaerys said he would abide by the council's decision whomever they chose, Viserys' vassals should have heeded his word when he proclaimed Rhaenyra as his heir. Once his mourning for his wife and son had run its course, the king moved swiftly to resolve the long-simmering issue of succession. Disregarding the precedent set by King Jaehaerys, Viserys declared his daughter Rhaenyra to be his rightful heir, and named her Princess of Dragonstone. Just like Jaehaerys' decision was heeded by all lords and everyone that attended the council, Viserys' decision to make Rhaenyra his heir should have also been heeded until he said otherwise. Though Princess Rhaenyra had been proclaimed her father's successor, there were many in the realm who still hoped that Viserys might father a male heir, but at the same time those lords did swear obeisance to the realm's delight, and also swore to honor and defend her right of succession. Many of those people's oaths meant nothing when Viserys died. Some kneeled allegiance to Aegon only out of fear, others did it based on their beliefs, and the remainder died before they could join Rhaenyra, as we can see in episode 9. In terms of law, both Greens and Blacks had a perfectly reasonable claim. One based on precedents and tradition, and the other based on the king's desire. Despite the king's distaste for the rivalry between Alicent and Rhaenyra, even after Sir Otto returned to Old Town, there was a Queen's party, supporters of Alicent and her sons, and there was a party of the princess. At the 5th anniversary of Viserys' marriage to Alicent, in the book, Alicent wore a green dress, while the princess wore a red and black gown. Thereafter, it became customary to refer to each party as the Greens, standing for the High Towers, and the Blacks for the Targaryen crest color. The Targaryens' relationship with the Faith of the Seven has always been a formal one, and sometimes really rocky one. The Conqueror himself didn't seek for the oils of the Septons in Old Town to be crowned. Visenya crowned him herself. Only later, when Aegon took Old Town, His Holiness anointed him with 7 oils as Lord of the Seven Kingdoms and Protector of the Realm. Although Aegon didn't seem to think religion was important, he kept peace with the faith. Now, Maegor didn't have a good relationship with the faith. Not to mention Targaryens brought the old gods of Valyria with them. Many traditions have stuck, like the marriage of fire and blood demonstrated between Daemon and Rhaenyra, or bearing kin to kin, a tradition that lasted until Dany's parents, years after the dance. Polyamorous relationships are also something that came from Valyria and were mentioned many times, like by scumbags like Daemon. The only first and accepted polyamorous relationship known to Westeros was that of Aegon, Rhaenys, and Visenya. In the future years, the Targaryens made some efforts to meet the Faith of the Seven halfway through. Targaryen customs are queer, as Alicent put it. For a common Westerosi, their customs might have seemed outlandish or even sinful. Incest is one of the traditions especially criticized, one that Alicent doesn't shy away from pointing out to Rhaenyra. It turned out to be hypocritical since she married her son and daughter, but that was likely mainly decided by Otto, although we're not certain, because he suggests marrying Aegon to Rhaenyra in episode 3. These lucid traditions might have influenced Rhaenyra to break free from the shackles of the Red Keep even before she was married. She has studied her ancestors and probably deems their traditions normal, while Alicent has been brought up with the traditions of Old Town, intimately associated with the Faith of the Seven. The Faith of the Seven has a similar moral system to that of Christianity, that everything is sinful. Thus, when Rhaenyra is caught lying about being involved with men,
to question my virtue is an act of treason.
And Alicent finds out, she takes this as a slight on her family, perhaps even the realm, and herself, since they're friends and she's her stepmother. Even in Fire and Blood, Rhaenyra might have behaved too promiscuous for her taste. Sir Criston protects the princess from her enemies, but who protects the princess from Sir Criston? Although she didn't pose this question in the show, she was brazen enough to question her son's legitimacy, considering everyone knew they were bastards sired from Sir Harwin Strong. It's a legitimate worry, as it was for Ned Stark. The elitism of nobles and royals keeps bastards out of inheritances, and that was the way of things. Do keep trying, Queen Alicent told Selena, according to Mushroom. Soon or late, you may get one that looks like you. However, even after Viserys saw his grandchildren, he still meant for his daughter to be his heir. The rivalry got inflamed as well with tradition and family values that differed from Greens to the Blacks. Rhaenyra dared to live as a prince does, like her own brother does, though with consequences, and on the other hand, Alicent sought an heir who was deserving of the Targaryen legacy, but hypocritically, she also knows that Aegon lives a promiscuous life, let's say, and she judges him a little bit less harsher. The Song of Ice and Fire dream was certainly an element that I was not expecting to see in the show. In the review of the first episode, I said I had mixed feelings about it because, after all, it's making a connection to Game of Thrones, and we all know how that ended. I've come to see Aegon's dream in a more positive light, as it not only affected Rhaenyra. As the books implied, Viserys anointed Rhaenyra Princess of Dragonstone, struck with grief. The show goes beyond this, making it a far more important decision than the book did. Aemma was the love of his life, and he technically murdered her, expecting that would give him a boy. She would die anyway, as the Maester said, but it was a difficult decision to make either way. If I were in his shoes, I couldn't help but feel blame either way. In a way to honor Aemma and their stillborn child, Viserys chose their daughter to inherit the Iron Throne. The reasoning behind his choice was a sentimental one. It was the man who chose Rhaenyra as his heir, not the king. Aegon's dream contributes with a heavier weight to his decision because it is a prophecy passed from king to heir. It's a word-of-mouth inheritance, if you will, something not even Daemon knows, which only proves Viserys will never let Daemon inherit the Iron Throne. The older she becomes, the more she realizes the heavy burden that her father placed upon her shoulders. Rhaenyra never really wanted to be the heir, but she did want her father's attention and love without the expectation of having a brother to replace her. When she becomes a mother, her claims become something that doesn't not only affect her, but her sons as well. Aegon's dream increasingly becomes a heavier burden as we advance in time and she forms a family of her own. The realm must be united under her rule. It's not a question that she should be a merciful, peaceful queen. Her father told her this secret and she can't share this burden with anyone else. Even when she tells Daemon, he freaks out. Dreams didn't make us kings. Dragons did. The importance of choosing the right heir lies within this line. Daemon could have never been Viserys' heir. He could have never understood the importance of keeping Westeros at peace, even if it depended on Aegon's dream. When Rhaenyra realizes Daemon was never taught the prophecy, she suddenly gains legitimacy, because she understands she was chosen for this. In this scene, she gets a message from beyond the grave the moment she understands that Daemon wasn't chosen. Wow, it was never you. Daemon can say that he doesn't believe in prophecies, but he was never trusted to anyway. There's also another side to Aegon's dream that makes it a double-edged sword. On his deathbed, Viserys confused Alicent with Rhaenyra, and that led to a lot of confusion. Since it's a prophecy passed from one person to another, there was no way Alicent could have known exactly what Viserys spoke of. Alicent's confusion is completely justified. Aegon's dream not only served as a plot device to give Rhaenyra's goals a different importance, but also strengthened Alicent's wish to put a crown on her son without demonizing her. Aegon's dream is therefore not only a way to connect House of the Dragon to Game of Thrones, but also a propeller to humanize both Rhaenyra and Alicent without making the Dance of the Dragon seem only a war for the Iron Throne. But after all, war is not without loss. The Dance of Dragons is nothing but savage internecine struggle for the Iron Throne, and as Archmaester Gildain puts it, it's more appropriate to call this war the dying of the dragons. Not only did this destroy House Targaryen, but impoverished the people they ruled, who will later rebel because of it. Like Mysaria said, there is no power but what the people allow you to take. House Targaryen failed as rulers, either black or green, and focusing more on their elitist point of view and having learned nothing from King Jaehaerys. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Bye.